Wait. Don't go yet. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, what are you still waiting for?
If you never known lack before, lack to the extremes, you may not be able to understand why people compromise. See, how can somebody steal a cup of rice? You won't get there in Jesus' name. I'm not saying it's okay to steal, but there are people who are caught that you now begin to think for them that if he didn't steal that cup of rice, the other option will have been suicide. A pastor was going home from church. It was a real story. And on the way he branched, he was carrying church offering. And on the way he branched, bought pepper from the church money, bought tomatoes, bought all those things. And then people began to query him because the error that he did was that he now doctored the offering to look as if what he paid for tomato and rice and the things and bread and the things that he bought did not exist in the offering. It was as though God blessed him separately, or as though there was a chunk of the offering like the sons of Eli that his fork went to. Are you getting my point? But you see, when I heard the issue and they explained how that guy was surviving, I said the guy will have legitimately asked for it, or taken it and told them, see, muzzle not the ox that treaded the corn. Because the family was invariably waiting for Sunday offering. There was no other. Now I'm not legitimizing pilfering. I know you don't want me to say stealing, so it's pilfering, just taking off layers of certain things. But I'm saying that Jesus can feel pain. The average believer doesn't have empathy. Somebody misbehaved recently, that's all I can say to you, and got into trouble. And it's a matured kind of trouble. Very matured. Don't think glory, you can't get what it is. Don't think. But is that kind of trouble that you can't get out of it without getting into another trouble? You know that kind of trouble. There are troubles that if you get into them, when you step out, it's ease. If you get out of that trouble, you get into a greater one. And every attempt to get out of it will be a greater trouble. So the only way to manage that kind of trouble is to stay there. That's the cheap. My wife knows the story. It's the cheapest. Just stay there. We manage cases as a family of people who jumped out. But this particular one, if the person jumps out, where's my wife? If the person jumps out, it's bigger than all the ones who have managed before, because there are too many complexities around numerical realities. You understand now? The numbers are large. You are thinking, but don't worry. What I want to do is not to tell you the story. I'm just trying to advertise. Okay, since you want to know, I'll not talk about it again. I see the eagerness. Anyways, what I told the person, and like I told my wife, I know that this person will jump out of that trouble and ultimately jump into a bigger one and a bigger one. But I've measured the person's potential, that the person can't go more than 3 steps of aggravated trouble. I will block after the 3rd step. So I told the person, I'll be waiting at that junction to restore you. If I come too close here, I won't be able to restore you because you will rebel. So I'll go and stay after your 3rd trouble. And I'll now come and administer the comfort of God and restore you. So I'm standing there already. I'm like the father of the lost son. This is the way my hand is. I even told the person, I said, when it's over, come home. Come to Bomosho. Come home, come home, come home. We'll be waiting for you. Because I know you will get there. I've been speaking for these few minutes on a structure that God has prepared. A structure that God has prepared. A structure potent enough to occasion rescue in a day of adversity. A multi-purpose structure, so that it has the ability as one structure to douse all kinds of troubles, all kinds of battles. And the Bible makes me understand that the believer is exposed to that structure. That's where we're going. We're just one verse away. I'm trying to preempt myself. But the Bible says that the high priest that we have can be touched not by our infirmities, because he did not experience infirmities like us. I mean, Jesus doesn't have a practical experience of fornication. The sin was laid on him, but he, by experiencing humanity, he understands the lure into fornication. He decided, I will not. I would rather love righteousness and hate iniquity. That's how he survived. He would not have been a worthy high priest after this new order if he had not been tempted at all points, like that verse says. But where I want to build is being touched by the feelings of our infirmities. And I've been trying all week asking the Lord to give me insight into what the feelings of our infirmities are in a day of warfare. Maybe I should announce to you, John, that you are not designed for strength. Don't believe me. But because you will live long, you will find out that prayer works. And because prayer works, you used to pray very well. Is the man travel? Okay, Sarah. Is he your roommate? You have a roommate here? Okay, surprise. You know, when we finish praying, you pray for 4 hours, 5 hours. There's a confidence that you have. I am saying that there are challenges that will quench that confidence. As you are coming out, you are bold. You just hear the landlord is coming. The thing just dies. Ha, long. Or you picked up a result and it was F there. When you entered into the presence, you were so overwhelmed. It was like you came out and your plan was to look at the result and see that they have changed the shape of the F and they have elongated the leg. So it's now A. And you find out, man, you have done what you know how to do is pray. The design is that you cannot find strength in yourself. After the error of Adam, this our flesh was sentenced to be a hub of weakness. One day the fine sister who is looking for husband will understand that on this side of the cross, they don't get married because you are fine. Because you'll be wondering why the ugly ones, because, well, they say they are ugly people. I've not seen one before, but they say they are ugly people. You'll be wondering why the ugly ones have husbands and the fine ones are still walking around. When you graduated with first class, your certificate was confidence, right? I know it's grace that worked it. You didn't cheat. It's grace. But when you now idolize what grace gave you, God will teach you that you are not designed to receive grace in one dose. Your life was supposed to be perpetually stewarded by grace. So you will walk into an office and you will meet the manager, and the manager will say, your result is too good for this place. Even me, I had a top class. And you'll be wondering, Oga, are you not supposed to be sitting on this side of the table? Oh, you okay? You've not gone for an interview before and the person say you are too qualified. It's because what you brought staggers them. The guy finished ND and didn't go to school again. Now you now came with a master's and you now wrote PhD in view. No. You see, you may need to write SSC. That way we say, okay. When you now enter, I'm giving you wisdom. You enter with SSC. When you now enter, when for the next promotion, when they say tender your documents, you now bring out a few. But don't write PhD in view. It doesn't work for anybody. Even the company owner is a first degree owner. Then you find out that many degrees are not an advantage on a dark day. The race is no longer to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to men of skill, nor wealth to men of understanding. What begins to operate now that gives an advantage is time and chance that happens to all of them. And they are not things that you can control. The Lord began to say to me that because we are designed in witness, a man never really comes to the consciousness of his design until he has used up the energies of his design. You think a Toyota is fast, it's good, you can accelerate to the end, but you find out that the closer you get to the end, the lighter the vehicle is in your hand. If you do that same thing with a BMW, when you are on the same speed, you find out that the BMW guy is still feeling a heavy vehicle. So until you press towards the end of your strength, you will not be able to measure your true state of strength. And what warfare does is to take us on a journey to our limits. You think you can pray, and you will find out that you will not be able to sleep. Or you think sleep is the enemy of prayer now. What is stronger? Now the sleep will not come, and you ask about me, but the prayer will not come. I've been through trouble in my life, and I know that way. One day I wanted to pray, and I said, Lord, I need to pray, but the thing was not flowing. So I started counting. There's a counter that Muslims use sometimes when they're in the bus. I don't have that kind of counter. So I was doing like this. I now mark the ground. I know to use not prayer. So there's this thing we used to call them, is it tally? Now you draw lines, you now cross. You draw lines, now cross. All I was saying was, Jesus help me. I planned to say it 500 times, at least maybe to equal prayer. And I did. Jesus help me. 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 That's the only thing I could say. And so every time I say it 5 times, I draw a line. So if I cross the line, it means I've done 25. And that's the only thing. I remember I was in Shalom Medical Center. I was just sitting in the house, and I sat. They have a place upstairs where you can look out. That's where I sat like 5 a.m. and carried stuff paper. I don't know. I just felt if I said it 500 times, help will come. It was big trouble. The trouble still came, but he helped me. Oh, he helped me. He helped me. He helped me. All this fine arranged prayer, when it scatters, if it does, you will find out that it is unto him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above that which you can ask or think. That you are not designed to be a product of your prayers. You are supposed to be a product of certain other realities in God, e.g. mercy and grace. I've seen people boast on stage that we came here by prayer. You spoke in tongues like Paul. Paul gathered all the prayers of the apostles and said, I thank my God that I speak in tongues more than you all. He was not in the upper room. But he came in chapter 9, but he outran all of them. And then he comes in 1 Corinthians 15:10 and says, I am what I am by the grace of God. I found out that if you don't arrive at humility too early, there are protocols in the kingdom to administer it. When God deals with a man, people go, see, you will be humble. I used to be small. Say, God, I used to say, God, humble me. Then someone now say, The Bible didn't say we should ask for help to be humbled. The Bible knows that it is within the capacity of this your earthly framework to be humble. So he says, humble yourself. Don't let God help you. Yes. His hands are strong. You were on the rooftop. You thought humbling you will put you on the ground. No. Hit you to the ground. Have you remembered Nebuchadnezzar? You don't have the slightest thought of what God can do to achieve humility in you. So when they are sharing the gift of the Spirit, and the next to be embodied is meekness, embody it. God resists the proud, and his resistance has the capacity to bring the proud to their knees. So arrive early. God knows your frame, so you must also understand your frame. Because you are a bag of infirmities needing help. Your infirmities create a consciousness in the day that you are engaged in warfare. And the Lord said to me that this explains in a way the feelings of our infirmities. It's not that the problem is big. It's that the problem brings you to a place of realizing that you are scarred. You know how you love a brother? Comfort. Are you in a relationship now? Okay, I've not told me, but I don't know. Things happen. So if you are, no problem. We'll just talk after the meeting. Who is the guy? Then we move on. So, you've been around this young man. I'm using very mundane examples. You've been around this young man and you think he likes you. And then after a while, you become deserving. You feel there are reasons why he likes you. So I'm intelligent, I'm beautiful, I'm God-fearing, I'm fireful, I have potency in the dark realm, I am industrious. I think those are general things that a lady will have. Until one day you walk into the room and you see him communicating amorously with somebody that even a lady calls fine. What does that bring you into? It may not be a threat, but you suddenly come to a moment of realization that I know fine. You have benchmark until you come to him and you say, let's be going. And he says, oh, meet my younger sister. And you're like, there was no problem. But the variation, you have benchmarked yourself against opposition and you feel, I cannot survive this one. There has been no collision. That was why Israel stayed on the fields of Philistia for 40 days. None of them had attempted Goliath and died. His sound alone left fears in their hearts. That is big, we are small. The Bible says those who observe lying vanities, they forsake their own mercy. You've forgotten that the guy has paid your bride price. You have forgotten that the guy fears God, so he won't cheat on you. You have forgotten all those things. He just fine. Say, these fine people now. I've gone to meetings. I've seen people. Many times I walk into the meeting quietly. Somebody comes, he comes with like 12 guys, all of them in black suit. And as he's coming in, Well, before, not now. My heart will cut. Kai! Say, wait, I want to talk for this place now. You know those conferences that in one session, there are like 2 speakers. And the guy, you look at the guy's shirt, you look at his shoes. Say, God, you have not tried for me. The guy now comes to the stage and says, Reverend. He now looks to the host and says, please don't be inviting me to speak when Reverend is around. Say, what can we even say now? So you thought that the guy was, but the guy is even intimidated that you came. When I saw you on the flyer, I thought you will not come. So anyway, let us sing and then Reverend will preach. But you are afraid. I went for one of those meetings and my host said to me, you're going to be ministering with so person. I said, okay. He said, are you going to come? I said, I'm coming. The man said to me, it's a privilege for you to minister with that person. I'm wondering, why are you rubbing this thing in? He said, we're going to be flying this person in and to be a privilege. I said, okay. So when the person came in, the person said, we can't preach when you're around. The man now looked at me when the person left. What kind? I said, say, we don't get name, but we did where we did. The feelings of our infirmities. A man can suddenly, in the face of trouble, in the face of opposition, become so aware that you are fractured. You go for an interview and everybody's bringing out their CV, and you see the way your CV is the old model. There's an old CV model. Then you see these ones with lines and with bold-faced letters and all of that. And you have not spoken. There are people with beautiful CVs and empty heads. Sometimes the reason why the CV is even good is because the head is empty. But you are staggered. Jesus is not a stranger to how weak you feel. He's touched. And it was on the strength of the ability to feel how weak you feel that he was tempted, because Satan felt that he will fall. You don't tempt a man when there is no notion that that man will fall. But the Bible says he was tempted in all points like as we are, yet without sin. On one side it was overcoming for you, on the other side it was gifting you a template that what you feel about yourself is not your reality. There is the possibility to overcome anything that Satan sends against you. One of the things that assures me is that Satan, by nomenclature, is a defeated foe. Anything that comes out of a foe who is defeated is defeat. The dance of an intelligent man is supposed to be intelligent. The dressing of an intelligent man is supposed to be intelligent. Are you with me? Wisdom is justified by her children. It means what wisdom produces is what bears witness to the presence of wisdom. So if a man has been or a being has been defeated, everything that stems out of him is defeat. So verse 16 tells us, it gives us a picture of how to survive what comes against you, like Jesus survived the temptations. He says, let us therefore. We have one who has passed this road before, and currently he didn't just survive the corridors of temptation, he has passed into the heavenlies. Even Jesus, the Son of God, he who in the days of his flesh, I'm putting all the verses together now, also tasted or yes, tasted or had experiences with human weaknesses, because in the incarnation he wore man on divinity. The enemy saw him as vulnerable as we are and attempted to bring him down, but he could not be brought down. He survived. And because he survived, we are encouraged to come boldly. And I said to us that the word boldly here is confident assurance. It's not arrogance. It is assurance that is based on the shape of our priest, who is a great high priest. The transition or the translation of our high priest, that the one who went before us is no longer here. He has passed into the heavens. He gained approval and was gifted admittance, and is sitting in heaven as a man. In the days of his earthly existence, he understood, and he still understands. And so I should be bold, because I'm not before a judge who has never been hungry before. He understands the pressure that comes with hunger. He understands the pressure of being alone. He had to exasperate one time, and his words were, I am not alone. Have you been at junctions where you had to tell yourself? People were leaving. I am not alone. The one that sent me is with me. And he didn't need to look, he didn't find a reason outside himself to validate God being with him. He said, because I do what pleases him, that's why he's here. He didn't even say because he promised he'll be here. What he was saying is, if the Father wants to leave, he won't leave, because I know how he operates. Once he's pleased, he stays. When he hung on the cross, he confessed being abandoned, being forsaken. And so it's not wrong to go to God and say, oh God, why did you leave me? You just be echoing your Savior. He understands, John, what it means to thirst. He endured mockery. Someone called me last week. I said, be praying for me. Very sober voice. I said, what's happening to you? Yes, some people are about to start calling me a false prophet. I said, you don't have ears to hear it. God shouldn't talk to you and expect that you will defend his words. Cheer up. False prophet. The people have been false forever, and they have been calling them false. Did they change? I mean, some people know that they are false, and we have found out that they are false, and we'll be calling them false, and they are still false. They've not changed. They are no longer worried. You should not be worried. Was it a man who called you a prophet? No, was it a man who called you a prophet? You think the utterances of a prophet are strong as the utterances of God? No, I don't know what people are worried about. Maybe you told somebody that this month I was praying, God said I will buy a phone, and at the end of the month you didn't buy the phone. Did they call you a false prophet? Huh? They are delayed promises, and we are trusting God for them. But there's a promise that is delayed, and everybody who promised has now become false. Victor, there's nothing you are waiting on God for that has passed the timeline. Everything God told you we do at this month, he has done it. But you can throw the prophecies away, or come to say sorry, he has not done it, or he will not do it again. I don't know that kind of lifestyle. Jeremiah knew where to go to when he said something and it didn't happen. What did he say? Who did he go to? God. What did he tell God? He said, you have deceived me. And I've been greatly deceived. So it's between the one who spoke and the God that he spoke for. I'm not trying to make a case, but I don't understand how everybody in a lifetime has spoken something and didn't happen when it happened. I was on Facebook last week and somebody prophesied many prophecies beginning of the year. He now circled one. The one he circled was that one Nigerian team will shine at the World Cup. I said, you see, it has happened. That was when Nigeria beat Brazil in the next match, and they beat us. So I now ask myself, did they shine? Ministry is not for people seeking validation. He's not. He's not. I wish I could call to say, bro, you for watch the competition finish. Let's see if thank God he's not a popular person. You will have trended on Twitter. Because it was 2 days after I circled that team that we now dropped out of the competition. Some people didn't prophesy nation. They didn't prophesy church. They just said one Nollywood star will die. About 3 have died in the last 2 months. That does not make them a true prophet. Say it and it happens does not validate that you are true. Source is what we are talking about. Yes! Have you heard of Nostradamus before? The man made win-win prophecies. He was the master of a crystal ball. Saw it, saw dates, saw names. But it does not mean that there was a movie. I watched that movie long ago. The man who saw tomorrow, many global events, to the date, to the year. But he's still not a prophet of God. Source is what we're talking about. I was I was in the vehicle and I was sharing with someone. I said, the way things played out does not require that you're a prophet before you can predict that. You knew that with manipulation, it will be that way. Not so. I'm saying that you didn't even need to be intelligent. If you are a dullard, like an F student, you should be able to guess that these people have mastered manipulation. So this is how it will go. It's like Barcelona wants to play with Crown FC. You don't need to be smart to know who will win, except if they are playing in Obomashaw. Yes, because there are many things that can be done. Oh, I know they play. I don't know if they use terms there, but they play football there. We play many things here. But if you are playing at Camp Nou, you know who will win. By the end of the first half, the Crown guys are saying they are not playing again. But people are staggered. And they are spending 3-4 weeks trying to make a case for, distracted by Satan, trying to gain a reputation that you didn't have in the beginning. Maybe some of you are involved in all those things that are going on Facebook. The enemy looked for work for people and they are spending hard, and the data is expensive. Some of you are using generators to charge phones now. 500 naira. 1 liter. And then you now go online and you're trying to say, no, it's not like that. No. Focus. It's not a call to be rash with utterances. But if you are confident that God spoke to you, be calm. Let him. It's the Gideon principle. If it's God, that's what Gideon's father said. If it's God, I'll let him defend himself now. How can a mortal be defending God? It's not right. But those things can get to you. They can weigh you down. And I'll show you on Sunday that some of these things that have been written are to cure true prophets or speaking on behalf of God. Because if you are not careful, you'll be afraid to say what God is telling you to say. It will now be maybe, did I hear well? People will doubt the ability to hear. No. I've been around for long. I've been around for long. And you have heard enough to be able to believe God. So when I hear, no, we're trying to help people's mind. Whose mind is in trouble? My mind? No, your mind is in trouble. That God cannot be, that people begin to doubt the speakings of God. That's how much faith that we have fed people with that they can doubt. It's premature. If God has spoken, let him keep his word. A prophet foundation, yes, a prophet has creative potencies. But a prophet foundationally is a mouthpiece. And if a man blows air into a saxophone and the saxophone makes a sound, you shouldn't hold the saxophone ransom. Hold the one who spoke to it. Am I right? But people are overwhelmed. And it's warfare. Querying things that they should not have queried. People have brought out their notes to say, if this one, no. What of this one? What of this one? God said I'll marry in November. Maybe it's not even November this year. God said this thing will happen in August. Maybe it's 5 years' time. Jesus knows what it means to be doubted. He's touched with the feelings of our infirmities, our insufficiencies. He understands what the animosity of brethren can do. Remember, it was the Jews that testified against him. Not so. He understood it. He had temptations to abandon the labor. Even in the Garden of Eden, he was tempted with uncertainty. I don't know how to survive outside fellowship with the Godhead. Can you let this aspect of the salvinic labors be suspended? Let's look for another way, because that was what he was speaking about. Isolation, separation from the Godhead. I've never experienced it before. So, can you let this call pass over me? Let's look for another option that still keeps us together. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. The Bible says, when those fears come boldly. There is a throne that I've come to announce, and that throne in scriptures is called the throne of grace. But I found out, and that's the word gave me. He said, son, in a season of darkness, that is the throne of prevailing. Because grace is actually God's advantage. And to the man who believes, God's advantage becomes his advantage. I'm going to say that again. Grace is God's advantage. The gift of grace is God gifting you, or God giving grace is God giving you his advantage. It's a combination not just of saving essence, but of supernatural ability. Actually, we should call them divine ability. That's what happens in grace. It started as God's advantage. One of the things that God possesses that puts him on a higher pedestal to the man that is relating with. But when God gives you his advantage becomes your advantage. And so you can walk through seasons that will have quenched you. Now your consciousness of your infirmity is no longer a problem. Peter knew that in himself, walking on water was not measured to men. Lord, if it be you, bid me to come. Come. And then he stepped out and began to work. He was practicing divinity because of an invitation. And that invitation swallowed the totality of his frailties. In the midst of doing the supernatural, he began to hear the sounds of the waves and saw how they were rolling. And then he began to experience once again the feelings of his incapacitation. What happened to him? He began to sink. That Peter, I know you are walking, but you are a man. You are a man. And he began to sink. And then he called out. Jesus reached out. The journey started back into the boat. We want to pray for a few minutes, and my question is, where did you stop? It's not wrong to sustain the feelings of your infirmities. Life will always bring us to that place where we are conscious of our existence as men, limited. I was doing a fresh research on Genesis 4:26 last week, trying to unlock the meaning of that word, enos. Enos at face value means mortal man. And when you use mortal, it means one that is susceptible to quenching. It can die. Now the word mortal there I saw has root words in weakened and lesser in stature. So what Seth saw was that after the fall, those who were birthed were lesser in stature to the original one that God formed. My son is not like his grandfather. That's what enos means. Lesser in wisdom, lesser in the capacity for fellowship, lesser in understanding, lesser in authority, lesser in command, lesser in creativity. All of those things began to define a man who was just one person away from the garden. Do you know how many people are between Adam and you? And every new one that came in successive births became weaker than Enos. Are you with me? So Adam stepped out, he gave birth to Seth. Seth was born outside the garden. He only heard stories. Then Enos came. He was just 2 distances away. I don't even know how many people are between you and Adam. I'm saying that what gave birth to us was weakness. And what gave birth to the weakness that gave birth to us was weakness. And so successive generations became weaker than the one before them. So if you count how many people are between you and Adam, it tells you how many drops into weakness that were made before you came. That's why that structure, that multi-purpose structure called the throne of prevailing was created for you. That no matter the distance that was covered between the first man who fell and to those who came after him who were weaker expressions of his version, if you come there, your weaknesses will be swallowed up. You can survive anything. Maybe they told you that your great-great-grandfather was a womanizer. And just like God gets better in every generation, Satan also gets better in every generation. So he womanized and there were 3 women with him. And you heard that your great-grandfather had 5. Your grandfather had 12. Your father is battling with 15. You already know that you are in trouble. What if your forefather was Solomon? It means it's like you don't have hope in the flesh. Because those who came after him will have been worse than him. See all the generations that came to you. You don't have hope. And I want to reiterate that you don't have hope until you come to the throne. You don't have hope, but you can prevail. That your father begins to wonder, why is it that you don't like women? The response is simple. I arrived at a throne. Our bloodline didn't stand a chance. But when I got to the throne and I asked for grace, they gave me mercy. The atrocities of our bloodline could not deprive me. They forgave all that could stand against me, and they offered me what will make me different from those who came before me. Everyone that came before you had a track record of taking what did not belong to them. You came from a bloodline of thieves, and you started feeling the tendency to follow them. The invitation tonight is to approach unto a throne. You cannot win that battle until you arrive.